Arthur Valentine Mauro was born in Thunder Bay February 15, 1927. Art got his start in business at a very young age.
I sold papers on the street, sort of the classic beginning of a career. And it was entrepreneurial because you bought the paper from the newspaper company, and you got 2 newspapers for 5 cents, and 4 for 10, and 7 for 15. And if you had any left over during the day, they were at your expense. You had money at risk.
From those early lessons in business, Art went on to study at St. Paul's College at the University of Manitoba in 1946. He spent 10 years studying at the U of M, which he now refers to as the Golden Decade.
I think on the Students' Council, when I was there was Jim Burns, who became CEO of Great West and then of Power Financial, Arden Haynes, who became CEO of Esso, Bill Norrie, Harold Buchwald, Izzy Asper. I could go on. So many of that period stayed in Winnipeg. And I think that has been a very important factor as to what has occurred in the city in the intervening 50 or 60 years.
Art was called to the bar in 1953 and became a lawyer with a special interest in transportation law. He was inspired by Manitoba's history building Canada, from CPR to James Richardson's first commercial airline set up in Winnipeg. However, after a significant legal career, Art was ready for a change.
Well, I'd spent 20 years cross-examining business people and other people on their balance sheets and operating statements. I thought it would be a different experience, and the company was going to be involved initially in the North. In the North, at that point, had become extremely important to me. I felt that was Canada's future right then.
Art spent 4 years in Toronto before becoming president of Transair, which brought him back to Winnipeg.
I had the opportunity of working with investors and knew some of the people who were with investors. And I'd known Paul Demery from university days. He was active in national student affairs, as was I, and I was offered an opportunity to join investors, and this is where I remain to this day.
Investors Group became one of the great national financial companies during and after Art's tenure as CEO. When we look back on Art's career, I mean, obviously the years at Investors Group will have been important, but his love of the North, his interest in aviation, his remarkable involvement at the University of Manitoba, the diversity of his activities will be remembered. And there's a whole generation of business leaders today who have drawn their inspiration from Art's appreciation of what we could be in Manitoba and what the role of a senior business executive should be in helping Manitoba achieve its ambitions.
I think it's critical as part of a corporate culture that you are a member of a community, particularly in the context of head office. Your people are living here. You have to indicate that you are participating, that these things are important to you, and that you are in fact being part of various agencies, that you're sitting on boards, that you're donating, you're contributing. But if you can indicate that it is an important part of the corporate structure and culture that we all do this, well, we've introduced various reward programs, recognition programs. To me, I'm very, very proud of what it has done. But I think employees feel good that their company is doing things, that it's readily associated that Investors Group is doing some good things in the city of Winnipeg.
Art and Gary Filman have been close friends for many years. Gary recounts a conversation they had over lunch.
Art, you're still living in the same home that you were 30 years ago, I said. Tell me, you know, you've made a lot of money, I'm sure, not that that's the be-all and the end-all, because you're being very generous now, giving it back to people. But I said, you're still living in the same home you were 30 years ago, and so tell me about your thinking about that. He said, well, a long time ago, I felt that I had a comfortable life, that I did the things that I wanted to do, and more wasn't better. I didn't need to do more or have more money or spend more money or acquire more things. He said, probably the only thing that's changed in the 30 years about my lifestyle is I have a bigger art collection. And I've told that story to my kids, and I've told that story to young people who are looking at the future and saying, what's important in life? And I said, this guy knows what's important in life.
In the early 2000s, Art was fundraising with Izzy Asper. The discussion turned to Izzy's dream of creating the Human Rights Museum.
I indicated, well, you know, if he was going forward with something like that, I was more interested in the academic side. I was a graduate of St. Paul's, and most of my professors in those days were Jesuits, and a very strong emphasis on the purpose of education was how you were going to serve other people. I think tying that in with the Museum of Human Rights is, you know, here takes a view of the past and some of the things that are current within the context of human rights, both good and bad. That museum is going to be an icon, my hope, of what a place can do, and I hope that the University of Manitoba and the studies of peace and justice will become an ongoing vehicle for sending the reality of Winnipeg to the world.
I think these days Art is driven by the thought that he wants so much to give back to the community, to the city, to the province, to the people who enabled him to be able to achieve great things. And so he has this tremendous sense that as long as he's breathing, he's going to be giving back, and he's going to be doing good things and big things.
He really has played such an integral role in so many different areas of Manitoba business enterprise and also in the community for decades, that it's a wonderfully well-deserved honor, and one which I know I, like many people, feel so pleased and appreciative of having had the opportunity to know and work and be friends with Art Mauro.
Art's legacy will be the fact that he has been a leader in this community throughout his entire adult life, that he has given generously of all the skills and talents, knowledge, and resources that he had, and that he's always put the community first in everything that he's done. That will be his legacy, and all of the other bricks and mortar things along the way, whether it is that beautiful building that was built by investors when he was the CEO, whether it's the airport, whether it's the Center for Peace and Justice. These things are there to remind us of all that he did, but his legacy will be his impact on the community and many, many of the key young people who came afterwards who he mentored.